stops feeling like an interview and it starts to just be like a casual conversation. Like, how's everybody? What have you been doing?
Yeah.
How's things been going since high school and stuff? So,
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, that's the way, I mean, it's like we're just having a conversation, you know what I
yeah.
mean? And this is some serious stuff that's going on. It's been so nice that I've been able to do these interviews and things like that because it's made me feel like I'm not completely not working, which is fine.
Right.
But I can choose to balance my time or whatever. But I had a hard couple days at the beginning because it's so uncertain and it was very anxiety producing. But now I feel like it's more of this: we're all in this together. Let's do what they're telling us to do, and hopefully we can help each other out in this scenario. But it's stressful for sure.
So you've been revving up the like just like you said just to keep social in a way like you've been doing a few more like more interviews lately just to
I
have
have.
something to
I've
do.
been. Yeah, I've always been somebody that's. I try not to be on my phone throughout the day or like on the computer or anything. So I've really been trying to put all of that stuff down and be outside a lot. And I meditate every day, so I've been meditating a lot and just sort of being outside and finding the tiny gifts and things I'm grateful for and those sorts of things like throughout the day. But thankfully, when everything started to happen a couple of weeks ago, the Lovebirds, the movie I'm in, was supposed to premiere at South by Southwest,
Right.
and that got canceled. And so it was a little in flux as to where the movie was going to go. And then by the next week, they just had pulled it from theaters, and so now it's going to come out on Netflix, but we don't know when. But it's just been this roller coaster of thinking I was doing this thing or that thing or that thing, and just finding the new normal, and then also giving it up because I don't have control over it anyway.
Exactly.
But
Oh,
thankfully, I mean, that's why the news exists and information exists, and I think social media can be a good thing too sometimes with connecting people and making people feel less alone and giving them something besides coronavirus news if they choose to read it.
oh, I've definitely increased my viewing, YouTubing of pets that get along like German
Yeah.
shepherds and kittens who love each other.
Yeah.
I'm just totally watching that all the time.
Oh, you have to. You know what I mean? It's like you have to balance that out. I mean, I specifically am like, okay, I read the news this morning, and I try not to do it again until later on. Or if something really big happens, usually someone from my family tells me, or you know what I mean? I have to just mitigate it because I'm a very empathic and empathetic person,
Yeah.
so I can go down the rabbit hole quickly of feeling really sad and anxious and upset for all these people and all these different scenarios. And I just know for my own mental health, sometimes I have to create boundaries for myself
I
and watch these videos or like be outside and go see, hang out with my dog or whatever.
Oh yeah, you made me feel guilty about something because the last time when my kids were here playing around because we have a big backyard and we're trying to figure out how to balance their or I guess work out their school schedules now. Now that their school schedules are being
Oh,
sent to us, I have a third grader, a kindergartner, and a preschooler,
oh
and
my gosh,
and
you have your hands
oh
full.
yeah,
Well,
oh
it's
yeah,
hard because the preschooler, like, they don't have school online. Like, my daughter goes to like a little school, but it's not like she has all these things she needs to be doing for school. But then your third grader probably has like legit school.
oh yeah, and he's always trying to legit like tell me that that video gaming is a
I
part
don't
of the
have school.
process, and
Oh,
I feel so guilty because when you said like take them out to the backyard, the last when they were here the other day, I let my yard kind of get a little out of control, and they're like, "Daddy,
yeah.
can we go outside?" And I look out there, and it looks like Jumanji, and I'm like, "No, no, I don't think that's a good idea."
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, I mean, you live in Texas, and I'm sure it's like Louisiana because it's hot. It's temperate, pretty much all year round. So especially this time of year like in January and February, things were blooming that I thought we had more time before things grow and bloom. You just have to you know what I mean? You have to keep up with it year round, where I guess people in the north don't have to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because especially well, we're just heading back into spring and whatnot. And I was getting used to the grass growing so slowly and whatnot. And then one day, a heat wave hit, and all of a sudden, it was higher than to my waist, and I just let it happen.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's well, you could turn it into like an activity. You could do a nature walk, hike in your backyard.
Oh, I finally did. I could because they're gonna be here in a couple hours. So I finally yesterday I just knocked it all out and
Oh,
got the
yeah.
ants out of there and stuff. So it's finally back to normal. But I think I'm gonna take your advice. I'm probably gonna take them for a walk, and we'll go to the park. I don't know if we're gonna play on the park because if there's a lot of people there,
Right.
I'm gonna keep my distance. But we're gonna probably walk around. A lot of people in my subdivision are socially distancing, walking a lot more. There's a lot of people
Sure.
outside, but they're at 20 feet length, and they're all out there walking around. It's pretty funny.
Right. Well, it's like that's kind of the activity you can do, and it's eerie. It's really eerie to when. I mean, now we're in Florida and it's more spread out, but
Mhm.
even when we were going on walks in New Orleans, it sort of has this like eerie apocalyptic vibe where everyone was sitting, nobody was even looking at each other, waving to each other, and just I was like, okay, social distancing, you can still like wave or say hi from across the street, but I think people are starting to sort of adapt a little more, but I don't know. I think we're all in this strange, obviously very uncertain time, and in a way, traumatic situation. Not as traumatic as the people on the front lines, but this is going to all change us in some way, hopefully for the better.
I think you're right. I have a theory, and I think you just helped me solidify it. I now have a new theory about what social distancing might do to like things like social media and stuff like that in the future. I figure it's gonna either have us all dive even further into the craziness that's on as far as social media, or it's going to remind us after the virus is all gone and everything's under control. It's going to remind us how important it was and how we used to act before social media and before
Right.
people would say, that phrase that everybody says at least 3 times a day. Where's my phone? Stuff like that. It's going to remind.
Yeah.
Remember when you used to shop and you would just buy like toothpaste without going, "Hey Google, what's the best toothpaste for," stuff like that. You remember
Yeah.
that? I think
Yeah.
it's going to remind us about that in the future.
I think yeah, simpler times, right? And that's what I've been trying to embrace. It's like when my anxiety spins out of control, I try to go back and say, okay, what can I see or think of or appreciate in this moment that I'm grateful for, and then also realize that there's nothing I can be or really need to be doing, quote unquote. It's sort of in this way where I'm constantly trying to get back to the mindful present moment of, okay, I'm with my daughter right now, and that's important. That's what I'm doing. There's not some looming thing that I need to be working on right now. And so in a way that's freeing, but it's also scary too, of course. So I'm trying to just like reframe it in a way.
Exactly. That's a great way to look at it.
But yeah, I think your theory's right, and I hope that once people, obviously the fear is always going to be there,
Right.
and the anxiety, but hopefully they can balance it or reshift it and find the light side of this as well.
Oh yeah, when we come at it on the other side, I'm wondering if we're gonna either dive even further into our self isolating kind of mentality, or we're gonna remind ourselves what it was like when we had like play dates and we and go out and
Yes.
have backyard parties and things like that, and just socialize better and talk to each other better.
Absolutely appreciate communicate each other better, talk to spend that time better. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
put our phones down more, whatever it is. I hope that's what it is. It's so interesting. You like how you said like play dates and things, because I think that was once like school got canceled in Louisiana a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that like, oh, surely we'll still be able to have like a play date or go to the park, but it's just like even those simple things of having one friend over, or like for me when I teach at a bar studio, which is like yoga and Pilates,
Mm-hmm.
and when that closed, and it was like all these, when everything closed, and it was really like, no, you're on, like, because Louisiana mandated basically a lockdown. It was
Oh yeah.
stay in your home, which I think, I don't know if Texas is doing that now, but you start to think about all those little things, like, wow, I mean, I would so appreciate, like, just strolling in a grocery store right now, but I can't do that. Or, I mean, I could, but it's more like a directive, like, we're going for these things, we send one young, healthy person, and they come back and we Lysol everything, but just to feel carefree about it again. I hope we get there.
Exactly.
Will.
Me too. But you're right. I literally did exactly that about 30 minutes ago. I ran to the bank and came back because this is like, I guess, my hobby that I do, that I'm hopefully going to turn into my full-time thing. But my full-time, I guess my Clark Kent mentality is I'm a real estate broker. I'm in real estate. So I had to
cool.
deposit
So, like,
a.
it's cool.
I said,
Good for you for starting what you love to do and working on that. That's
yeah.
like doing both of this and being a father. You got your hands full.
It's a crazy balance. Like usually people don't hear that. They're like, so besides movies and interviews and reviews, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a realtor, and they're like, oh, they never see that coming. They always think that I'm something else in media or something like that, or that I do this full time.
Well, man, I appreciate your work ethic and your drive. That's gonna win.
Oh, I love it.
It's so interesting because I love acting and I love producing and writing, like all these creative things that I do. And I'm also a mom, and people think when you're not on set as an actor, you're not working. And I'm like, no, like that's totally, you're auditioning or learning scripts or auditioning and not booking things, but you're constantly, or doing admin or working or you're always doing something. It is a full-time job, even if I'm not on set.
Exactly.
And then, but people, I don't know what people think.
Well, it's kind of like doctors. It's like when people or being a comedian. Like people always think that they can get up there and do it because it looks so easy or something like that. They never think the hard work and that it takes to actually to, like you said, the auditions, the rejections and until you and things like that. They always, people nowadays, they just want to get to the finish line without doing any of the groundwork, I guess. I don't know why.
You're so right. And I think that's the negative side of social media, is that
Yeah.
gratification. This teenager has 5 gazillion million followers and is making who knows how much money on ads, and so everyone thinks they don't have to do the work or they could do it. And then maybe if they get into it, they see it's harder. But I mean, I'm not interested in that side of things, but it's like I do know that I've always been a hard worker, and I'm always going to keep putting in the work. And I've had people just come to me, like new actors, like ask me for, hey, can I get with your agent? And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh, first thing you need to do, get yourself in class, like learn how to act.
Right.
An agent comes way later, and I think people and hopefully if they're willing to like learn and put in the work, but yeah, people want to just get to the finish line. And obviously there's no formula, especially in my industry. There's no formula that's like, if you do this and this and this, you will equal success.
Right.
So
that's exactly what they want.
Success means, it's a constant redefinition of what success means, because you're gonna get told no so many more times than you get told yes.
Exactly. And you have to prepare yourself, have thick skin and prepare yourself for rejection. You're
Absolutely.
100%. I get that question all the time. My friends are like, "Hey, how do I start a YouTube channel or a blog site like yours and get 1 million followers too?" And I'm like, "Dude, when you figure that out, you tell me. I haven't hit that yet either." I'm like, "What are you talking
Yeah.
about?" But you're right. Instant
Right.
gratification is exactly they wanna know what. Just tell me what A and B is so I can go to C right now and
Right.
just get it and just have it all. And I'm like, well, when you figured it out, I guess you can tell me as well. It's so funny that you said it just like that because I didn't know. I'm pretty sure you get it all the time, like you just said. Can you introduce me to your agent? How many? Let me ask you this: how many times have you tried to explain to somebody the steps to getting in the business that you're in, and they kind of like checked out a little bit mentally while you were talking, and then the second you finished, they were like, "So you're not gonna introduce me to your agent?" Has that
Well,
happened yet?
yeah, it's like, well, I appreciate, right, I know what you mean, and they're like, wait, I gotta do, and I'm like, it's not even that, well, first off, like, I take my recommendations very
Right.
seriously. I'm not just, like, recommending any willy-nilly person that I've never seen their work, and so I usually kind of give them, like, oh, that's so kind of you that you did your research to at least, like, see who I was with or whatever, but, like I would recommend, especially if they're first starting out, like getting into class, training, getting a demo reel, like getting on sets if you can, just even if it's your friends getting together and working and like act like doing it, you just do it for a little while, and
Exactly.
it's sort of a catch-22 with actors that I think is unique is that once you get to a level where you do have, the agents let you have work or a demo reel, but sometimes you don't get work or a demo reel until you have an agent. So it's sort of like this whole idea of creating your own content. You really
Right.
have to be able to find people and find a camera and just put yourself on tape, even if it's not the best thing technically. At least an agent can see you on camera acting. So there's definitely some get up and go. There's some hustle, a lot of hustle.
So what you're saying is you're not gonna introduce me to your agent?
Are you an actor too?
No, no. Oh no, oh my God. I recently I just posted on Facebook my only claim to fame. This was like 20 years ago. I'm 40 now. I just turned 40, and when I was 21,
Yes.
I um
Yeah.
there was a film I heard through another friend who said that there was a film being made in my old neighborhood that I used to live in, and me and a friend of mine, we drove out there just to do what I guess what we all do. We try to
Check it out.
we check it out. Oh no, I not only that, I had a script in my hand. I thought I'm gonna give this script to somebody on the set, and I'm gonna become famous. This
Oh, I
and
love that.
and I like totally not knowing how it really works, and I gotta be. It was funny. Whoever I gave my script to, he humored me a little bit, but I didn't. I thought that, oh my God, I'm about to make it. And then years later, as I got further into film punditry and reviews, I learned that, oh, that guy just totally humored me. That was totally not the way to
Oh,
do it. But it was funny though. While I was there, the director happened to notice me and my friend and said, "Hey, we need extras for this one scene." And it was like a shooting scene where a guy was being shot by by I guess a rival gang or something like that, and they were wearing all black, and me and my friend just happened to be wearing black shirts and black pants. It was just a total coincidence. And when the director
wow.
looked at me, he was like, "Hey, we're doing this scene. I need a few extra hands. Do you mind just holding this prop?" And then when I say action, just pull the trigger. And I'm like, "Okay."
Oh
Not.
my
I'm like, "Oh
God.
wow! I gave him my script, and I'm gonna be in his movie. This is it, Chris Fagan.
Oh,
This is
good
your life."
shit. Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
nothing ever came from it. I found the movie later, and I saw myself for probably a point, like a half of a second, but I was there.
Yeah.
It's me
There you are.
back when I had hair.
That's awesome. That's such a cool story.
It's
And that was a printed out script, I bet, 20 years ago,
Oh
right?
yeah, I handed him a piece of paper. I'm pretty sure it found its way into somebody. It wasn't the director I handed it to. I think it was another guy on set who worked for the director or casting or something like that, or the writer or something like
Yeah.
that. But I'm sure it was. I've only found out that legally you can't really, you can't do that. Like they get, like no, you have to go through an agency and you have to go through the channels. You know how many scripts people try to throw at producers and stuff all the time. It's just not how
Wow.
it's done. And when I learned that later, I was crushed. I'm like, so that guy didn't really take my script.
Oh, maybe he really did. We don't
Oh
know.
no,
I
it was
wish
horrible. Oh
people
no,
had that
that
script.
script was horrible. It was terrible. It was not.
But you know what? That was brave of you because that took a lot of courage.
Oh yeah, and I got in the movie. So, but for
Yeah?
point five, point what five, what half 50% of a second was at point five, fifth of a second. I don't know how do you say it. Half of a second. I was there.
Oh my God,
I,
that's
th-
awesome.
I think I yelled "cut" when the props stopped working. I think I did that.
I love it.
That was
I
probably the
love
weird
it.
look
Oh
I
my
got.
God.
But
The
not to hold
director's
you.
like,
But I'm sorry, not to hold you keep for too long. I know you probably have to get back to it. But I had a lot of fun when I was when the marketing company sent me the email about you, and I read a little bit about your work history through IMDb and everything, and I.
yeah.
The more, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was gonna give this assignment to one of my the bloggers. I'm on my YouTube channel. I have I work with a lot of actors. Amanda, I think she's in California right now, but I think she was going to do this interview with you. And then when
Oh, cool.
I had to pull rank because I saw something on your IMDb page that said, "I'm sorry, nope, Amanda, nope, I'm gonna do this interview. I have to do it."
That's
And
awesome.
I said, now tell me if I'm wrong about this. Call of Duty Black Ops. Were you a part?
Yeah.
You were a part of that marketing campaign?
Oh my God, I love that you just brought that up. That was back in 2012, and yes, I was. This is hilarious. So I was in LA, and I was back there in 2010, but I was in acting class, and my now husband, but I met him in this one particular acting class, and we heard
Ooh.
about this open
Uh
call
huh.
at the shooting range, and I
Okay.
was like, cool. I was like, all right, like I have some firearm experience because I grew up like going to summer camp, and then I was a camp counselor, and my dad hunted, and I just like was taught safely how to handle a firearm, and so I was like, oh, I could, that's cool. Like we should show up there. Anyway, the open call was on a Sunday, and it was during football season. I'm a big football fan, and I was wearing a Saints jersey because we were like on our way to go watch the Saints game at some bar, and we were like, let's just go to the shooting range in the morning, and we'll like shoot, and then we'll go to the open call. It'll be cool. So anyway, I was like, all right, whatever, and like I had just kind of started out acting, and there was it wasn't like it didn't say like what wardrobe to wear. It was just like open call. So I was like, I'm just gonna wear my Saints jersey, whatever. And so I did the open call, and totally not expecting that like from all these people that showed up there that I would ever hear from this casting place again. So went to the Saints game. We lost. That was sad. But then a few days later, they called and they were like, we want you to be an extra in the Call of Duty commercial, and it was SAG-AFTRA. And back in the day, I don't know how it is now, but back in the day, in order to get in SAG, you had to work 3 days on a SAG production, and then you could join. Or so basically, you got Taft-Hartley to the union. And so I booked the commercial, and I got to go out. They like put me up in a hotel in the middle of the desert, like out in California, like 2 hours away from LA. And we got to shoot this huge commercial, like out on the
I remember that commercial.
It was so cool. It was like 3 days in this like industrial like area, but it was very like deserted, and it had that like desert feel to it, And the campaign at that time was there's a soldier in all of us, so I was a waitress. So I was dressed up like as a waitress, and then they gave me an Uzi.
Oh my God! It just all came screaming back to me. I think I remember that commercial.
Yes, and it was like there was like a pizza delivery guy, and
Hmm.
everybody. It was like he didn't look like a soldier, but everybody was like running around with guns. And so I got to shoot this Uzi, and it was so much fun. And then I was lucky enough to one day during lunch, this producer walked up to me and was like, "I think we might want to use you for the print campaign." And I was like, "What?" Okay, and they're like, "Yeah, they're shooting it next door. Just go walk over there and tell them I sent you." And I'm like, "Okay." So I walked over there, and they were like, "Yeah, let's use you, but we're gonna put you in like different clothes." So then I was just in like a normal shirt or whatever, and sat in front of a green screen. They strapped some guns to my back, and then they took a picture of me, and that was it. And then I never heard anything about it. Months later, my friend in New York City was like, "Kelly, you're on a billboard
Billboard.
in Times Square," and I was like,
I saw
"What?"
that.
Like I got paid for it, but I like never saw it. And then I ended up like all over like Subway promotions, and like I never saw it in person. I wish I could have seen it in person. But it was all over New York City and just like all over the place, and it was so cool because I got my SAG card. I was a working actor, and then I got to do this cool campaign. And I grew up playing video games with my brothers. Like, I actually really love watching video games. I find it very soothing. Maybe not Call of Duty with all the guns, but I love, like, the story kinds of games. Like, I love
Role playing
Legend
games.
of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, like that kind of stuff. And my husband is a really big gamer, so I'm a very good recipient of that because I'll just watch him play video games if they have a good storyline. But right now we're really into our Switch because we've been playing Animal Crossing, which is the cutest game. It's super cute. It's very zen. You have a town and you have a house. You grow things and you catch fish and you sell things. It's really, really cute. But yeah, that was the Call of Duty story. That is so funny that you saw that on my IMDb.
The second I saw that, I knew. I said, no, this is happening. I'm definitely going to be the one on this interview. I have to ask her about that. And it's funny how you see when you explained the story because when I looked it up, I think I guess maybe your friend or maybe one of your friends or maybe you reposted it because I saw a picture on Google Images of someone taking a picture of that billboard. I don't know if that was the picture that your friend did, but
I don't
somebody
know.
posted
I
it.
have to check it. I
Yeah.
definitely have the picture of the billboard on my IMDb, I think, but I would have to look up and see. But it was really cool. I mean, I was like, wow, like I can't believe that I'm on a billboard in Times Square. Like that's insane. You know what I mean? So that was really one of the coolest moments.
From a gun
happened.
just a casting at an open casting at a gun range to a billboard on Times Square. I mean, I'm telling you.
Yes, that was definitely one of those like I really just like was in the right place at the right time sort of moments. And I'm just like it's super cool because of course my brother was so into Call of Duty and Black Ops, and so I was like the really cool older sister at that time.
Oh yeah, that was the
I think
first.
I still am.
You
But
said,
especially back then, I was a really cool older sister. You know?
yeah, that was the that was the. I used to be terrible at that game, but Black Ops was the first Call of Duty game that I got good at, and that's why
There you
I love
go.
it so much. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, that was the first one. But that's too
Oh, I
funny.
love it. Well, that's great. I'm glad that brought us together to talk today.
And you mentioned the Lovebirds. So that another reason
Yes.
why I wanted to speak to you because I remember. Okay, so in my inner circle, and just in the general audience, when I would go out to the movie theaters, whenever the trailer for the Lovebirds would play, it was getting a lot of laughs, and I swear I feel like people in
Yeah.
my circle were like looking forward to watching that movie on the big screen. And then unfortunately,
Yeah.
what happened, and I heard that Netflix acquired it, and I think it's going to be released on the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken.
I think have they announced it? Okay, I talked to my publicist yesterday, and they've apparently been talking to Netflix about the release date, and they've been sort of like a little under wraps about it. But in my heart and in my gut, the blockbuster premiere, or like the big screen premiere, was happening on April 3rd. So I could see them releasing it on the original premiere date or shortly, like soon around it.
Was April the 3rd the original theatrical release?
Yes, April 3rd was the original theatrical release.
I think,
and as of yesterday, they didn't have a release date on Netflix, but that could have changed.
I saw it yesterday. It was late at night. I was probably like up at like 11 or so, and I saw April 3rd.
I'll have to go. I hope that's true because I want it to come out. You know, I had mixed feelings. Obviously, I was so excited to go to the premiere and see it on the big screen, but you know, in a way, I hope that it will bring people together in a way to laugh in this time because it's hilarious. I can speak openly about how hilarious it is because I've read the whole script. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And Kumail and Issa Rae together are fireworks. They are so funny. They're so talented and so giving as actors with each other, and then also with supporting cast like me and everybody else that was there. And just being able to meet them, they were so down to earth and kind and generous and just exactly the kind of people you want to be around and work with. And Michael Showalter was such a great director, and the cool thing about it is he allowed us to improv, which is one of my favorite things to do because I trained with Upright Citizens Brigade in LA, and I love to improv. So when it was magic for me because I'm watching them improv, I'm improving, we're all improving. I'm like, this is cool. So we'll see what's in the movie and what's not in the movie. But yes, I think it was this movie that so many of us were really looking forward to going to the theaters to see, which is kind of a great thing to say, you know, especially in this time with streaming, because usually people show up to movie theaters for Marvel movies or big blockbuster events, but I really think that this was going to turn out.
I think too.
Changed. So I hope it turns out in a different way, that we don't really know what it's going to be like, but I think it's going to be this movie where people are really going to respond to it. I have high hopes for that.
I think it's bittersweet because I 100% agree. I feel like it was going to do very well in theaters because it had that presence. I don't know what it was. Every movie that I saw, whenever that trailer finished, people were laughing and you could hear the chatter like, I can't wait to see that. That looks like it's going to be funny. I would hear it all the time. And
that's amazing. Yeah.
But with the increase of like Netflix and the streaming service, a lot of streaming services have I heard that some people have been having trouble getting on their streaming services because it's been such an increase in demand on it. So it definitely looks like it. I hope it still gets that same audience that was as excited as I'm not even saying that because I mean I like that's what you would probably say, or I guess to be nice on an interview. No, I was very much so looking forward when I saw that it's Kelly Murtagh from the Lovebirds, and I saw all those things that I had in common with your work history. I was like, I got to do this interview because I was one of those guys. I'm sitting with my fiance, like I want to see that. I want to see that movie, and I can't wait to see it.
I think I'm so happy to hear that story about being at the movies and hearing people chatter about it excitedly because I think it's a testament to the people that were involved, really, because I think Kumail and Issa are just stars, and they're so like on and off screen. You know what I mean? They just were super cool and chill, and I think that inclusive vibe, like that sort of genuine, like come hang out and let's chat and let's have fun and come watch me on this movie. Like something about their quality of who they are as people comes across on screen, where you just kind of want to hang out with them because they're great.
Can you tell me a little bit about like your character that's in the film?
Sure. Yeah. So find him in the movie as Yvonne, and originally in the script, Yvonne wasn't even a character. She was just mentioned in the script, and I had read the script because I was asked to do the table read from this casting director in town. And so I was just like utility leader, my husband and I both were, and the only thing about Yvonne that you heard was, so what happens is, you know, as you can see from the trailer, Camille and Issa they're almost run from the law because they're basically framed for this murder.
Right.
And they're on their way to a dinner party, which is the dinner party where I am. And they call the host of the dinner party, or the host of the dinner party calls them and says, hey, you know, where are you guys? Like, because they're running late, obviously, so they've got shit going on. And they're like, oh, we're on the way. And they're like, oh, will you pick up a bottle of white wine? Yvonne doesn't like red wine. So that's all you heard about this character named Yvonne. So anyway, after the table read a few days later, casting called my agent and was like, so they're creating the character Yvonne, and they want you to play her. And I was like, what? Oh my God, this is so cool. So Yvonne sort of evolved on set, which is super cool, via improv, because I had a couple of scripted lines, but what Michael would do is he would be like, okay, Yvonne, now you go in and like improv with them, and then they'll come in, and so I kind of was able to like build her and make her my own in the coolest way, because I really originated her in the fact that the only clue that I had about Yvonne going in was that she was making the host of this dinner party get her white wine, because red wine gave her heartburn. I was like, oh, I see you, Yvonne. You're that girl. You're that girl that's going to get wasted at the party. You're like, oh, sorry, you're so annoying. You got invited to this nice dinner party, but their wine isn't good enough. Like, seriously? So I just kind of ran with this whole, like, drunk, annoying vibe. And I became, like, Issa Rae's, like, annoying friend. Like, the one who has no idea she's annoying.
Oh, my God, it's too funny.
She's, like, super annoying. So, that's who I am. I am the annoying, drunk dinner party friend.
You just remind. I'm gonna have to send you a link. There's the whole time you were describing Yvonne, I just helped my old coworker here that do a comedy sketch where they did the Real Housewives of the South Carolina debate or something like that, like the chaos on that last debate, and they merged it with Real Housewives, and the person the young lady that was playing pretending to be like a Joe Biden, I guess, kind of a person. She had white wine. I think it was white wine in her hand, literally, and she had this fake blonde, long blonde wig, and she kept. And the funniest line that she said was, "I think it's my turn to talk. I think it's my turn to talk. Okay, you need to follow the rule." And she just kept saying that over and over again. It was like the whole time you were describing Yvonne, I'm picturing her.
That's so funny, and it's nothing wrong with white wine. I love a dry white wine, but it was like the whole. Yes, it's like that idea of that character that's like got to your fancy, beautiful dinner party and then was like, oh, you know what I mean? And they're just complaining about it. Like,
right.
Just, oh my God, yeah. So that is my essence. We'll see what happens when it comes out. I can't wait to see it. But
I'm looking forward to it.
I really had a blast, and it was so magical to be on set with these people that I had long admired and looked up to. I loved Michael Showalter, and I loved Camille's film that he wrote and produced with his wife Emily, The Big Stick, that Michael Showalter directed. So
I love that movie. Oh, can you? I just saw it for the first time only like a month ago, and I'm mad at myself for only seeing it. So I saw it so late, but I loved it.
No, don't be mad at yourself. You saw it when you needed to see it. It's so good, isn't it? It's such a beautiful film, and it truly inspired me back when it came out. My daughter was only like 4 months old at the time, that particular award season, and when I saw it, it just really, really inspired me, and it was so beautiful. And I now am in post production for my film that I wrote and produced, but at the time, I had only had like an outline and a couple of pages written. And after I saw The Big Stick, it inspired me to sit down and write my movie finally and get a first draft out. So when I met Kumail, I was like, talking to my husband, I was like, Bobby, his film, and like, he means a lot to me. Like, he's inspirational to me, and I want to tell him, like, I believe in telling people words of encouragement. That's who I am. And when I want to tell somebody something sincere from my heart, I usually tell them. And my husband was like, I don't know, Kelly, like, it might be unprofessional, like, maybe don't do, like, and I'm like, I'm going to wait for the right time. But of course, right when I met him, I like, word vomited, and I was just like, you really are, I just want to tell you, I think you're a great artist and a great writer, and so talented, and you and your wife working together, and like my husband and I work together, and congrats on your Oscar. I just like gave him this big snappy monologue about how he inspired me to write my first draft of my film, and I was like, it's nothing like your film, don't worry. And he laughed, and he was so gracious. He just was really touched. I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like, thank you for telling me that. And he was, he could have called security and been like, oh, this girl. I don't think I was being creepy. I am that way. I do that with people, no matter if I know them well or not. I've
Right.
been that way my whole life, where I feel the need to tell people when I think they're spreading light in the world and doing good things and making art that I admire. Like, I hope that I touch people in those ways. So, like, when that happens to me, I believe in, you don't have to go above the overboard, but I think just a genuine, honest, sincere thing can go a long way for people.
Exactly. No, that makes sense, and
Yeah.
that's great. And before I know, I planned. I don't know why I try to keep my interviews short, but then whenever there's like a old friend from college kind of a conversation, it always goes way
Right.
past what I originally
Yeah,
thought.
I hear you.
I'm so sorry for that.
I hear you. I love to talk to people, so like I'm probably not helping the short interview scenario.
But I'll fast forward to the last thing I was going to ask, and you already kind of touched on it a little bit, like your upcoming project. You said you and your husband were writing something, producing something together, right?
Yes. So I wrote a film, Shapeless, and it was an idea I had 10 years ago when I was in treatment for my eating disorder, and about something loosely based on a story of mine. I grew up singing, and I was trained musically and singing before I ever trained in acting. I mean, I did like music theater in high school and school, but singing was really where I spent all my time and what I did with my life and what I loved to do. And I was also, from a young age, struggling with an eating disorder. I was struggling with bulimia. And in college, I wanted to go sing again. And when I tried to do it, my voice was all just cutting out. I couldn't hit certain notes. And so the voice teacher convinced me to go to the doctor.
Right.
And when they looked at my vocal cords, it was via a laryngoscopy, which is like an x-ray of your vocal cords, and they take video of it moving. When my vocal cords were supposed to be flush and come together, there was all these jagged holes, and the doctor said, this all comes from daily repeated acid reflux, severe acid reflux, something like that going on, and I couldn't face it. I was devastated and also too ashamed to say, yes, I'm struggling with bulimia. I couldn't even accept that fact. Like, I was so ashamed of it. I convinced myself it existed in this dark, dark secret world that no one saw, and I couldn't face. So I dove deeper into the illness. I didn't tell anyone. I was so devastated, and I stuffed that memory down, and I was like, well, Kelly, you can't sing again. You know what I mean? Like, anyway. Cut to, I finally went to treatment, thank God, and I had the idea, like, wow, wouldn't that be a cool script to write about a singer who's dealing with an eating disorder and has no idea she's like, and she's also running what she loves to do, which is singing. So, because also I wanted to write a movie and spread awareness about like what it's really like to live with an eating disorder. It's not a diet, it's not a fad, it's not a phase. It's a an
Right.
addiction. You're living in a prison inside of your body.
Right.
And so that's where it came. That idea came about 10 years ago, and I stopped myself for a long time because it was too personal, or I felt like no one would really want to watch this movie. And thankfully, back when a few years ago, I guess back in 2015 or 16, I finally got myself to a screenwriting class, and it little by little things started opening up, because you have to start opening it up to other people in order to get a movie made. You know, like you have to send it to a director to see if they like it, or people had to start like hearing the story and read the story. And thankfully, I got trained in screenwriting, and that teacher was amazing, and he was so kind and generous and open and curious. And little by little, people started to be open-minded about it with me, and it lessened my shame
Right.
about talking about it. And so it's been the longest road and the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It's like having a child. You know what that's like. It's so joyful and challenging at the same time, but you're doing everything for it. You're giving it your all, and you're putting in all your work, and you hope that it flies. You know, and it's vulnerable. It's very, very vulnerable. And now I've become comfortable at being vulnerable about talking about this, whereas it's taking me so long to start talking about it. But
Right.
thankfully, I feel like I'm so excited because the director I want to direct it signed on board, and it's a psychological body horror thriller with some surreal magical elements, which is what I always wanted it to be. So I'm very excited, and it's become this thing that I never thought it would become, and become greater by sharing it and collaborating it with other people. So now we're in post-production.
That's outstanding.
And we are hoping next year, depending on what this climate looks like, but hoping that it will be at a big film festival and premiere, and that we can do the whole festival circuit. But, I mean, obviously, South by Southwest was canceled, and
Right.
Tribeca was canceled, so I don't know what that means for the independent film market. It's a little scary and uncertain, but I hope that by then that we'll be able to go to film festivals and theaters again. But I honestly don't know. But I hope that there will be some avenue for us, for people to see it, and for distributors to see it, and that kind of thing. But I don't really know what to expect. But we're just going to keep moving ahead and getting it done and making a movie, you know?
Exactly. I'm hopeful for it, and I like I said, I hope that it does everything. I guess calms down and turns around, because you're right. It's important, and I look forward to definitely that story, that your film Shapeless. I look forward to seeing it, because you're right, that is a message that needs to get out. It's good that you finally got to a place where you were willing to share, and I hope that things turn around, that we can get that to the festivals and everything, because
I hope
it's
so. Well, I
something
know
that,
you'll see it one day. I
yeah.
appreciate that so much. Thank you. And it's sharing. I got comfortable with sharing by sharing.
Right.
If that makes any sense. It's sort of like how it's like this on-the-job training, where like the first time I'm sure you showed a house, or you put a blog post or a YouTube out there, you felt uncomfortable and a little wobbly and uncertain, and then it became a little more comfortable as you do it. And so I'm so grateful that I am at this place, because once I became vulnerable and authentic with myself, I actually healed. Because it was like, oh, actually, once I started sharing and my shame lessened, and I was talking with people who are kind and curious and vulnerable too, it opened me up to be able to lessen my shame and actually heal. And so I think that art has that capacity to be healing for people. And sometimes you just have to hear that song or see that movie, and you say, yeah, me too, you know?
Exactly.
It's like sharing. There's this great Brene Brown quote. She's one of I love her so much. She's basically a shame researcher and a qualitative researcher. And she she's written books and does talks, and she has a podcast. She's great. One of her quotes from one of her books, from Braving the Wilderness, it says, "It is the art of sharing that whisper you are not alone."
Keep smiling. I can tell. I love this conversation because I could tell you were smiling the whole time. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So
Well, you too. I appreciate you very much and your hustle and your thoughtful questions. Thanks so much for your time.
You too. I appreciate it. Talk to you later.
You have a good day. We'll keep in touch.
Oh, thanks.